All right, guys. So this last section, but not the least, is lifestyle. Now, I usually say to my clients, in the beginning, focus on diet and lifestyle, because lifestyle is so important. I cannot underestimate how important it is for healing. So in general, lifestyle is all about changing it so it's a healing mentality, a healing way of going about your life. Rest, rest, rest is kind of the motto that you should be plastering on your fridge, on your door, everywhere. Once you begin to do the nutritional balancing program and you start to come into contact with some of the illnesses and some of the fatigue that's hidden underneath a lot of stimulants that you will have been having, you'll begin to realize often the intense exhaustion sometimes, or the intense fatigue that's been hidden away under the body. And the real way to get over that is to rest, to heal. Just think about it. When you've had an acute sickness, what do? You just get in bed for 2 or 3 days and you kind of sleep through it and rest through it. And in many ways, this is kind of no different. It's just a more longer term view. So you want to be resting and rejuvenating as much as possible. And it really is a mindset shift, because a lot of people are so used to the way they're living. They're so used to running around, going to work. They're so used to doing multiple jobs at once. They're so used to thinking that life is all about doing, and not being. We're human beings is a nice quote that a lot of people say. So in general, we want to be just slowing everything down as much as possible. Now, one of the most important parts of healing is sleep. And it can be one of the most frustrating parts of healing as well, because sleep is so sensitive to various different aspects when you do a nutritional balancing program and life in general. But in general, what you want to be doing is you want to be trying to sleep as much as possible. And this includes napping in the afternoon. You want to be aiming for at least 8 hours. If you need 9 hours, if you need 10 hours in the beginning of the program, or, I still sleep 10 hours now sometimes. Just sleep as long as possible, because while you're sleeping, the body's rejuvenating, the body's detoxing, the body's overcoming all of these issues and ailments that have been holding you back for so long. Now, one key aspect of sleep is realizing something called the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is our natural sleep-wake cycle. And basically what happens is, as the light starts to become dark, the body will start to turn on its sleep cycle, and it starts to rest and rejuvenate and slow down. And generally what happens when the body gets to about, when the time gets to about 10:30 p.m. is, if the body is still up, the body will think that, oh, wow, I'm not going to sleep. I need to keep this body awake. And what it will do is it will release cortisol and release adrenal hormones to keep you awake, which is not good. So what we say is that hours before midnight are super important. They're like worth 2 hours or 3 hours. If you can get to bed before 10, that's amazing. If you get to bed at 9, perfect. And, even 8:30 would be absolutely wonderful. But I understand that's difficult for a lot of people. So yeah, if you're struggling with sleep, what I would say is read Dr. Wilson's articles. I have some YouTube videos on sleep where I go through all of the different issues related to sleep. Sorry. Speak to a practitioner. There's so many things that can deal with sleep. I can't go into them all on this video. Noise pollution, light pollution, stimulants, even doing coffee enemas too late on at night. And then there's various sleep products and natural products you can use, like valerian root or chamomile tea. But again, all of these are in Dr. Wilson's articles. So switch on the lifestyle mindset, switch on the slow mindset, learn to chew your food slowly, go on slow walks, calm yourself down, take a Epsom salts bath, and start to rethink what life's all about. Life isn't about necessarily chasing to get that brand new car or chasing this high stress career. Life in general is just about kind of going through life and being relaxed, being content, not doing too many things at once. If you look at the animal kingdom, you don't see any animals running around like 100 miles an hour like headless chickens. You know, humans are no different. For some reason, we have this understanding that humans are like robots, and we're not. We're a biological being, and we are just as much like animals as what we are anything else. We do our best when we have a good, healthy balance of sleep and rest. I know it's a little bit annoying because in the beginning of the program, you've generally got to rest more than what a human would do in its natural state. But that's just because we're so ill and toxic that you've got to do like extra rest. I was really astounded actually at how much rest I needed. You know, for someone who's really sick, you know what I mean, it's going to take you quite a while to really get the adrenals to a point where they're functioning fairly normally again. So yeah, you've really got to change your mindset on this one and just slow every single thing down. Slow your thinking down, slow your tasks down. Working on computer, writing, all that sort of stuff needs to be brought super down to a low level.
Great. And, you know, I just wanted to add that, yes, sleep can be a big issue for a lot of people. And in addition to what you've touched on, there are some things in the program like extrapyramid before bed, lecithin before bed, that can be helpful for a lot of people with sleep issues. In Dr. Wilson's sleep article, there are also some natural remedies that are great to try and some other suggestions. So I encourage people to have a look at that. Pyramid, extra lecithin usually are the first go-tos, and then to branch out to try some of the other remedies if those don't quite help enough. And sometimes it's getting the body into the habit of sleeping more. Like if you're a person that really has not put a lot of value on sleep, or you're running around keeping yourself really busy during the day, it takes the body some time to unwind and to relax and to know that, yeah, that it's okay for me to sleep. And it's kind of moving into more of a healthy parasympathetic system instead of being more in sympathetic dominance all the time, right? We haven't touched on that a lot through this series, but basically when people are in that sympathetic dominance or that fight or flight all the time, it really is difficult sometimes at night to turn themselves off, their brain off, and just truly actually relax. And that is really important for healing. One of the things that happens when people are always in that fight or flight or sympathetic dominance is their bodies don't even detox as well, because their bodies are more uptight, thinking that it's not safe to do that, to relax and do that. So, you know, relaxing even helps your healing in that matter, that actually you will detox and progress faster with that healing. And that brings to mind another aspect of the program, and that's exercise. I have a lot of people that are really heavy exercisers when they start the program. And Dr. Wilson's got a great article on exercise that talks about how exercise really is an addiction. It can be a really big addiction because it's quite a potent stimulant. And so people that really are addicted to exercise, oftentimes they are tired underneath. Like if you are an exerciser and you don't feel well on a day that you exercise or that you don't exercise, it's because you're not actually getting the stimulant that you're used to. In your body, if your body's healthy, you really should feel the same. And so some people that we work with are people that aren't exercising at all because they're too sick. And then other people we see are to the other extreme where they're over exercising simply to give themselves a boost, and because it is part of the addiction sort of process. So on the program, we want the energy that your body gains to go towards healing. So some of the things that we would recommend, as Lewis talked about, would be gentle walking. You know, rebounding is fine. It's a gentle enough exercise on the body. It helps the lymphatic system. I even like Pilates is gentle enough if you are doing a gentle Pilates class or something like that. So again, those are not essential parts of the program, but for some people where movement, you know, they still need some movement during the day, those are really good recommendations where it's not going to tax the adrenals and overstimulate your system, but you're still doing movement. So I don't know if you have any other suggestions if you have for people that really are heavy exercisers or that want to start exercise, but those are generally the ones that I find are compatible with the program and you know, work well.
again, it's more of a mindset shift. It's a paradigm shift, because you hear it all the time. If you're not feeling well, if you're depressed, exercise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pushed so much that if you're not feeling good about yourself, you need to exercise. And this was a problem that I got myself into when I wasn't feeling well. I just clung onto the idea that exercise was going to get me out of this issue. And I exercised so much. I was running half marathons. I was doing really heavy HIIT classes. And, you know, yeah, at the end of the class, you might feel a bit better, because you know what's happened in reality is you've worked yourself so hard that you've stressed your adrenal glands just to release that last bit of hormones.
You're stimulated yourself.
You stimulate it so much, and you feel that elation, and it might last 10 minutes, it might last an hour, might last half a day. It's important to realize that what you're doing there is you're stimulating an already very, very tired and fatigued gland. And I understand how difficult it is for some people who are exercise addicts to quit, because it literally becomes who you are. It becomes your nature. If you were the sports child, you know what I mean? You grew up playing sports, football, netball, basketball. It's ingrained into your personality. Do you know what I mean? And rightly so. Exercise should be an amazing thing to do. But the world we live in these days is, unfortunately, we're so ill, but brought up on such a bad diet, so many toxins, so much stress, that we've burnt our adrenal glands out way too much. And it shouldn't be like that. We should be able to exercise all throughout our lives, in my opinion, in a healthy way. But that's not the case, and it's troubling, because you've not only got to restructure maybe and think about who you are as a person, but you've also sometimes got to come into contact with that inner fatigue, because it does act, as Susan said, as a huge stimulant, and people use it to keep themselves going. So it is challenging for some people, and I totally understand it. I was in the same position. You got to embrace it. In many ways, I was quite relieved that someone turned around to me and said, actually, that's going to make you feel worse. I was feeling so bad that advice actually made me feel better. I was like, wow, if that's making me feel good, I'm going to stop doing it, you know. But for the people that, some people do feel good doing the exercise, and it lasts for a day or two, and then they stop doing it, you know. So just try and realize that it's just so important to change the way you're thinking. It's a paradigm shift, and it's habitual. We're habitual creatures. Once the habit of not doing the exercise gets in, after a couple of months, then it just becomes who you are after a while.
Exactly.
So you'll learn to love rest.
Yeah. And another point that I wanted to talk about was that a lot of this program is working on balancing the body. And there's another component that, you know, we want to encourage people to look at minimizing their exposure to toxins. Toxins are all around us. I mean, metals are in our food supply because they're in the soil where the food is grown. And you know, as there's more metals and toxins in the environment, that tends to increase. So I don't want people to become paranoid and fearful and obsessive about it, because, you know, that's creating more stress. But to minimize where they can exposure to toxins. So, you know, that's why we recommend eating organic foods when possible, spring water when possible, you know, in terms of even cleaning products and personal care products, looking at natural products whenever possible. And I know Dr. Wilson has got a little bit of recommendations that way on his website that you can look at. But, you know, it's especially for women that we're sort of drawn into the whole trap of cosmetics and hair products and whatever. Try and minimize your exposure, because all of those things, again, what we're using on a daily basis and what we're exposed to on a daily basis starts to accumulate in our systems, in our bodies. So it's really important to be mindful of all of that. We're trying to make your body's job of healing easier. And one of the ways of doing that is to reduce the toxic load that it is being exposed to on a daily basis. So again, that's something that your practitioner can help you out with in terms of suggestions, but to look at all of those things and minimize and start to replace things in your home with more natural alternatives.
Sure. Another thing that you need to think about in your lifestyle is minimizing your exposure to radiation. Now, this is really a hidden menace that not many people are aware of. And, you know, you might be disappointed to hear that things like Wi-Fi computers, various wiring in walls, you know, cell phones, they all emit radiation. There's something like 10 quadrillion times more radiation in the atmosphere than what there was 500 years ago. That's a big problem, and it stimulates the body and causes a lot of issues. There's something called EMF sensitivity, electromagnetic sensitivity, and basically people are sensitive to wireless radiation, and whether you can feel it or not, I can guarantee you that it is affecting you on an unhealthy way 24/7, whether you realize it or not. Now, a lot of people that suffer from insomnia, for example, might have EMF sensitivity, so it's definitely something to look into. Dr. Wilson has an article on it, and I talk about it extensively on my YouTube channel, Deep Healing Space, because I also had EMF sensitivity. So it is important, whether you've got it or not, to be aware of it and to realize that excessive computer use, excessive phone use, excessive watching the TV is all going to be emitting this harmful radiation that you need to deal with. Now, if you have got EMF sensitivity, or actually even if you don't feel like you've got it or you feel it, it is a good idea to take good best practices. So I'll give you an example. I don't actually sit in front of a computer. I use a projector. So I project my computer onto a screen. So I'm just looking at light. That helps me out massively. There's other computers, software programs like Flux, for example. Flux reduces the blue light. So it's like the circadian rhythm. When we're outside in nature and we're outside, we're seeing blue light from the sky, from the clouds, from the different refractions of light coming into our eyes. That blue light, we actually need it in the daytime, and it helps us to sleep at night. But what's happening at nighttime is we're getting extra blue light from phones, from TVs, from projectors. That's unhealthy, and it's going to be stopping your sleep-wake cycle. So there are programs like Flux that will automatically reduce the blue light that's on your TV screens and your mobile phone screens. So you're seeing more reds, more oranges, more browns, which is what you should be seeing. That's going to start to get you into better sleep cycle. Now, one thing that we need to talk about, because technology is becoming rife, is things like social media. Now, we live in a world these days where supposedly we're more connected. Unfortunately, it's causing the opposite thing to happen. Human beings need human-to-human interaction. And the social media, the reason why Facebook has something like 2 billion members is that in every single one of us, we have this deep need for connection. And unfortunately, Facebook is artificially coming in front of our eyes to form them connections, and it doesn't work. What you're doing when you're watching social media or looking at social media is you're seeing fake lives. You're seeing lives that aren't realistic. You're seeing statuses of people, and you're not really engaging with people on a human level. Humans, in reality, are not as good as what they appear on social media, believe me. And it's so important to try and get off social media and make human connections with people, because that's what's most important. You know, asking someone face to face, how are they doing today? You know, seeing their reaction, you know, feeling the energy of another human being in front of you, giving that person a hug and saying, how's your morning been? You know, working together on team projects. All of these things are part of human nature, part of human structure. One of the reasons why people are depressed and isolated and lonely today is because of the rise in technology. The irony of this better connection is actually making people feel more disconnected because they don't feel part of anything. No one's got a shared vision anymore. No one's got a shared purpose. You know, you don't know your neighbors anymore. You don't walk down to the bakery and say hello to the guy who's serving you food and how's his wife doing, because you don't form them connections anymore. But it's those little things that are human. It's those little things that keep people going and keep people moving forwards. However, on another note, I will say one thing. When you're incredibly sick, social media and the internet and technology can be a lifesaver. You can go onto the internet and you can find people that have got similar issues to you. You can watch YouTube videos. I mean, you're watching this now over technology, you know, so it's not all bad. Technology, you can use it as a crutch, especially in the beginning of the program, beginning of healing. Going on Facebook groups to find like-minded people. I have a WhatsApp group for my clients that we talk to. various forums and all this sort of stuff will help you feel a certain sense of connection. It's not real, but it does make you feel a little less isolated and a little more connected to people. But what I would say is always realize the dangers and the pros of technology and social media. We do need these connections with human people. And if you can do that, do it as much as possible, because you'll have a secret to loneliness and depression and isolation that not many people are aware of. The secret of really knowing someone face to face, of getting to know a person, of sharing the community, of volunteering, you know, that's really what drives people, and that's really what fulfills us in terms of connections.
Wonderful. Okay. And pardon?
Would you like to add anything onto that?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty complete. Just the last section I wanted to focus on would be relationships and jobs, and sort of looking at that. That's part of lifestyle. I find that as people start to heal on the program, oftentimes their relationships change. The types of relationships that they're attracted to can change as they're healing, and the types of people that are attracted to them can change. So I find on the program that relationships with people can often evolve to something a lot deeper, or sometimes it's a matter of letting go of relationships that end up being unhealthy relationships or unhealthy jobs. So again, that's something that sometimes people need a little bit more support or a little bit more counseling or something along on the program, and that's fine to get in touch with your practitioner and discuss that with your practitioner. But it's interesting. I've seen a number of people, a number of my clients where you know, they've realized that the job that they're in, a relationship that they're in, really isn't serving them well anymore and is holding them back. And sometimes it's not something that a person can change right at the very beginning of the program, but as things change, those things have a way of shifting and also changing as people are growing themselves and getting healthier. I don't know if you notice that as well with yourself and your clients along the way.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, one thing that's really, really interesting that I find fascinating is that we have this certain development and maturity that's basically built into our DNA. You know, humans are supposed to mature in a certain way. They're supposed to thrive off certain relations. You know, they thrive in certain work environments because it's literally inbound into us as human beings. Now, in terms of vibration, when you're feeling sick and you're feeling down and depressed, you vibrate at a certain level. We do live in a spiritual universe, in a spiritual environment. And when you're vibrating at this sickly level, you tend to attract things and objects and people and jobs that are also vibrating at that level too. And generally what happens is when you start to heal yourself and you start to remove the toxins and you start to switch on various genomes and mature the way that the human body was supposed to mature, you'll begin to vibrate at a higher level. Now, there's pros and cons to this, all pros really, because what will happen is when you start vibrating at a higher level, you're not resonating at the right frequency for that job. You're not resonating at the right frequency for that toxic relationship. It's not compatible with you anymore. You go into a new level. There's temporarily heartache in general. There's temporarily pain. Sometimes you've got to leave a job. Sometimes you've got to leave a relationship. Sometimes you've got to take a step back from a family member. You know, people that are closest to you. But always realize that when you move up to a new level of vibration, there are people and jobs and environments and maybe other family members that are vibrating at that new frequency. So you're going to feel more love, more connection, more fulfillment, you know. And what I found is as I've healed myself, you move further and further and further and further up. And sometimes it's a bit overwhelming in the beginning, you know, a bit, you're out of balance, but believe me, there's always something better that's going to come as
exactly.
You get a gift. It's like a gift from the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I found that as well.
In terms of job, I just wanted to point out, focusing on job a little bit. You know, we needed to rest in general. We want to rejuvenate as much as possible. So sometimes it is important to evaluate your job. If you can, not work in the beginning, that's amazing. And
Yes.
if you can do that, I would definitely recommend you do it for, you know, the first year, the first 2 years, just to rest, just to rejuvenate, just to fully embrace the program. If you've got funding or family can help or whatever, I do think it's a good idea for you to tell your family about your situation, just to be honest with them and to be upfront and be like, look, I'm feeling this way. I've had this test. I've got this information. This is what's come up. Generally, if you sit down with family members and friends and just be truly open and explain to them calmly and consistently and thoroughly, they will often get on board, and family members do want to help. And sometimes they will say, okay, well, if you need time to rest and heal, we will support that. And I would definitely recommend you to do that if you can. Obviously, a lot of people are not in that position. You do need to work. I would say that if you can find a job where you can work from home, that's amazing. There are jobs out there that you can do that. The second best option is probably like part-time job, working for family members, working for friends. So they can give you a little bit of leeway sometimes if you're going through a healing reaction. You know, a job that's a little bit mundane, a little bit boring in the beginning will be the better jobs. Jobs that are high strung, high stress, mentally taxing, physically taxing, will slow down your healing. There's no point in really saying that it's not going to do that.
Yeah.
You can slow down your healing in the job if you're working behind a computer or whatever. Like, you can slow down your thinking, and you'll actually find that sometimes you get more work done. These people are doing 10 jobs at once. Actually, if you just slow things down, just prioritize your work and do jobs one step at a time, you probably end up getting more done than what you would have done before, making mistakes and running around and getting stressed out. You know, so you got to just, again, it's a mindset shift. But assess your job. Your job should hopefully combine nicely with your healing. And, you know, pray. If you're in a difficult position, even if you don't believe in it, just pray, and you'll be surprised at what opportunities that might come your way fairly quickly.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Good points. And you know, there's some people that aren't in a position where they can leave their job because they're financially dependent upon that, and work the program around it. And what's interesting, what I've seen happen a number of times, is that other opportunities become available. Right? If you kind of put that out there, other opportunities come your way that maybe are a better fit, that aren't as strenuous or stressful, or a healthier environment as you start to progress and get healthier yourself. And part of that is just the vibrational frequency that you've been talking about. So yes, ideally, wonderful to have a better situation to be able to rest and heal. And if that's not available to you, the program will still help you. Absolutely. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lifestyle is a big area. As I say, read Dr. Wilson's article. I have a few videos on lifestyle, but in general, rest as much as possible. You know, sometimes friends and family members are not going to be on board with your healing, with the way that you are, with this new Lewis or this new Susan. It freaks them out a little bit, you know. And be prepared sometimes for family members not to fully understand what you're going through. Sometimes they're fully on board. If they're not on board, in general, it's just best to not really say too much. Just try and keep yourself to yourself and get on with what you need to do. But yeah, just keep on going and you know, take this whole program one step at a time, and realize what you're doing. You're not just healing. You're going to be on a spiritual path, and you're going to be growing and realizing more truth. And in reality, what you'll often find is that this big, massive burden of a healing issue that you've got actually transforms and will often become the most amazing thing that's ever happened to you, because you've realized so many different things that have made you into this wonderful person that's going to go on to do amazing things in the future.
Exactly. Perfect. And I guess I just wanted to close this segment with there is a lot to this program. It's very comprehensive. It's an amazing healing program. But if you hit a bump in the road, or you hit a healing reaction and you're struggling, please just get in touch with your practitioner. That's what we're here for, is to help support you. on this journey. And oftentimes there's just ways of tweaking things or slowing things down or adjusting things so that you're able just to continue moving forward with your healing.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully you can nip in and out of these videos and they're going to give you a real great snapshot. As Susan said, you know, get in touch if you've got any problems. If you are watching this and you're not on a nutrition balancing program, my email is lewis@deephealingspace.com if you want to start. Susan?
Mine is info@nutritionalbalancinglifestyle.com.
Awesome. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching. Do you have a website?
Great. Pardon?
Do you have a website?
Yes, it's nutritionalbalancinglifestyle.com.
Cool. Deephealingspace.com. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers.
Bye.